All right. Welcome to TableTalk, where we talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, The Bad Luck Gamer, with my co-host, Glue Boy,
Hello.
as I fix my camera. And today, there's a lot going on. The TTRPG sphere is an enigma, unknowable. There's so many interesting things happening that just most people who love this hobby just don't know about. Excuse me. I've also scarfed a bunch of food, so I'm going to be a little burpy. I'm probably going to eat a little bit more to finish my plate off, but we'll get to that here in... Good, I'm glad, Andrew. I'm glad you're enjoying it. But we'll get to that, but as always, we do a little bit of small talk before the stream really gets going, so if you're watching this in the past, check in like 20-25 minute mark, somewhere in that range. Usually is when we get started on the topic at hand. So, Alex, what's been up with you?
I other than just taking a breather because I finished a video way faster than I expected. I have a different schedule to give myself like actual breathing time, so I'm not burnt out constantly. And then I proceeded to completely crush all the editing in a day. Turned out good, like it's a good video, and I'm like, oh well, all right, I have more time to myself now. And we were just talking about before stream started, but no, I'm just playing Battlefield all day, like switching between the new beta and then 2024, because like the servers get full pretty quickly, and then I open the beta and it's like, oh, you're in queue 3000, you're 3000. Yeah. I'm like, I'm good. I'm not gonna sit here and wait. I've never been a competitive gamer guy, like, at all. Like I've done my stint of CS:GO back in the day. This is my type of like online game. As someone who's not super into like PvP stuff. Like this is the style. It's just completely chaotic and ridiculous. That's my shit.
Yeah, Baron Horde did actually almost die. I don't know if you were that point in the VOD, but we were talking about it. And
I had 3 health left.
3 HP left.
Yeah. It's strictly the fact that I have like, I think it's based on strength for your health, right? I got max strength. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I'll hold that moment. I was immediately in that moment like, well, if this backfires on me, it'll probably still make for a good moment, because I was just under the belief, I was like, I don't think Cam is going to outright kill me unless I fuck up repeatedly.
To be fair, I wouldn't have, but you know, like,
yeah.
But in actuality, it was very close.
Oh, 100%. Like, I knew no matter what happened, it would land good as a story element. I didn't think it was gonna be a I one-shot you, you're dead thing. And it'd either be that moment of like he took some big move and it fucked up and blew up in his face, or it worked out. Will it work out the next time? That's a character flaw. It's on his sheet that he'll do shit like that.
Yeah, and I mean it was metal.
I just like those characters. It was
your flesh being ripped away, and you're like, nah, we're staying here, grabbing his arm, you know. Keeping the hands that's literally disintegrating you on you so you can get a good blow in with your weapon.
I have a berserk tattoo for a reason. I have a type of favorite character that is like tank the shot for the shot. I don't care how it happens. I will always think that's cool.
I am in the Cosmere RPG and Discord, and I am that Bad Luck Gamer, yeah. Bad Luck Gamer is a pretty untaken name in most places, so.
I think there was like another gaming channel called like The Bad Luck Gamer or something.
Or something similar. Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere is too low magic for me, to be honest. You're half right and half wrong.
It depends what setting you're talking about.
It's... And I say that even understanding what you said is an opinion, it's because like yes, the individual settings can definitely be a lot less high fantasy, but when you consider everything together, and when you consider like essentially this post Wind and Truth book like universe, I feel like a lot of the books moving forward are going to get a lot more high fantasy / high sci-fi.
A high sci-fi for sure, because like the big thing is, yeah, 100% depends on the story you're reading, because Stormlight and like Elantris are stories where magic exists, but it's really like weird, not known, and it's just coming back. You have a story like recently, I mean, it was six of the Dusk, and then now Isles of the Emberdark, which kind of eats that story up, which is basically no magic except for like these birds, and like that's the only magic thing. Then you have like Mistborn and Scadrial. Magic is just so common and so like utilized there. I understand though the idea, where I can understand the vibe is completely different, that it does feel low magic, where you're like this isn't like Western fantasy wizard towers and mages casting fireballs. It's not that, because the vibe in Sanderson's stuff, which appeals to me as a sci-fi nerd, is that magic isn't treated as magic, it's treated as science. And so like I like that aspect of it.
Well, like moving on from Oathbringer, like a good majority of the battles that are happening all over the place are a lot of people flying and using gravity magic, and a bunch of enemies who can transform into anyone, move through any kind of material, use their body as a physical shield against damage, and the storm clasts or whatever, the giant giant enemies. Like there's some really high magic moments and battles in it, but I'll say you're half right, because like definitely not as crazy high magic as D&D, at least like 90% of the time.
Yeah, the scaling is different, because like for the thing you're talking about, and like with what relating it to D&D Pathfinder magic, good on you, Andrew. I was going to use that. It's Aeon Door. Like that, it's just Aeon Door, because that system is basically you can do whatever you want. You just have to know how to do it. And there's like another big limitation is essentially you need like a mana supply, but you can 100% utilize that same stuff. Mistborn's magic is very widespread and weaker compared to like especially Stormlight with Roshar, which the intention for it is as Scadrial develops, it becomes tech. So essentially it's like it's Magitech is the style of stuff they have, where even you can have technology reproducing magical effects.
Yeah, plus Fabrial sciences and everything like that. Like there's going to be a lot of very crazy high fantasy stuff, but Brandon Sanderson likes creating grounded stories in fantasy settings, which is why they have this appeal that like, yeah, D&D for sure throws magic out like candy, but kind of not exactly how you think. All this stuff you're thinking about in D&D about people throwing fireballs and stuff like that, in actuality, that's supposed to be a really rare skill that not many people have, actually. Like adventurers are supposed to be the outliers in this kind of setting.
True. Like I would hope that Aeon Doors could be balanced like that, because to be fair, if you want to create a really powerful effect with Aeon Doors specifically, it's going to take you 3 actions, like an idiot, drawing in the air, making sure all your symbols are right. Like it's the way Aeon Door is talked about in Elantris, it's as if it's like you're learning a whole new language with like advanced mathematics.
Yeah.
Like if you want to teleport, you have to do the math for like how far away something is and calculate where you want to land, because you have to also account for the curvature of the earth, because you could teleport yourself into the ground. Like it's super complicated magic, but it's capable of like way more than any other system, because it's very reality bendy. But I also am of that opinion. I think that Sanderson's magic system makes me drawn in more because I have an issue with some fantasy stuff where like I can hand wave like if magic is magic, whatever. I like to know the reason why things are the way they are, and I agree with Sanderson that limitations are more interesting than the powers.
And even in the Pathfinder setting, while yeah, a good number of people are magic capable, most people don't develop their magic actually to that strong of a degree. Like in your average town, the most people can do are like cantrips. So,
which to be fair, cantrips are sick. I would love to have some cantrips in my life.
Yeah, I mean,
prestidigitation would be the most useful thing ever. Like, I'm just gonna be honest.
Is Pathfinder more high fantasy than Mistborn? Yes. Yeah, no, 100%. That's not the argument. The argument is the Cosmere in itself, I would argue, is not any less magical than, Pathfinder or Starfinder or D&D's settings combined. It's just done differently, and it's done in a way that's more, like, limiting. Because, like, the Cosmere has, like, dragons that just do magic. They just can. Yeah. They're just powerful and can do it.
They're beings like of investiture. We're more powered by it, but like they can just do a lot of shit. They have their own little limitations. Learning about dragons very recently, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, it's like that's the thing. Because I definitely would argue a lot of settings range in like the style of fantasy they hit, but as the Cosmere of a whole, I think it's an interesting lens to look at. What do we categorize as different versions of fantasy? Like, what would we categorize as high fantasy? If we have a thing that is utilizing, if magic is like a determiner, we have a whole universe now that is using magic in just a different way of expression.
Well, so it's kind of interesting, right? Because can you, in theory, have a low fantasy or no fantasy story in a high fantasy world?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's exactly what the Cosmere books are about. A lot of the Cosmere are low fantasy adventures in what is relatively a high fantasy setting.
I mean, it makes sense if it's just not your vibe. That's totally fine.
Yeah,
you can have your
opinion. 100%. I was only arguing that Cosmere is weak or not high fantasy, which again, you said it's not. You say it's weak. It's not weak. Your understanding of it is just weak.
or honestly, it's a different scale. Like if a lot of this Cosmere stuff depends on the person, I will say, because there are a few that I think would still cause issues. There's a lot of, like anime, manga, like games, anything where it's like, oh yeah, that's the easy solo, no diff. Cosmere stuff, it's a little funny because I wonder if a fully trained bondsmith could take Goku. Let me change your connection to Ki real quick.
Yeah, in theory. I mean, so, but the problem with those arguments are, right?
It's a different argument, yeah.
People full throttle characters from the get-go in a fight with like their expectations. Like Goku is faster than the speed of light, even though Goku is hit repeatedly many times by things not moving at the speed of light.
True.
So,
and then it depends because you can't even use the scene argument because I was immediately thinking it. Of 75% of the time, it is then right after stated that he was kind of letting them do that, but there are exceptions to that, a decent amount of exceptions to that.
Well, not only that, but like also, it's never proven that these characters actually can move at the speed of light. Like the acts that they do are only like because someone says they can move at the speed of light. So this is what happens, but like. What you observe is definitely not a feat near the speed of light at all.
I'm not a power scaling guy, but modern military versus Cosmere is
that's a rage bait. Don't even pay attention to that argument.
That is completely untrue if you've read it.
Yeah, that's just rage bait right there. So
yeah.
But I thought that was an interesting conversation nonetheless. It's
I think it's a fun thing to kind of keep an eye out with. Sanderson is like a kind of viewed as ahead of it, but there's a good number of other people doing this that I need to get my hands on. Uh, it's the kind of blending what we like to view a lot of fantasy stuff as. Um, like what exactly is a fantasy genre? Which genre itself I think can also be super wishy-washy and like stretched because no categorization system is going to be perfect.
Yeah, but like when you talk genre, you talk about overall understanding of like the beats and the themes of a story. I think that's pretty succinct, no matter really how you stretch it. It's more of just like when you try to subdivide a particular genre. Fantasy is by definition, I think, like necessitating the use of magic in some degree.
It's the idea that is a fantastical thing, events, actions, place. But it's just always those moments where it's like, all right, now it's blending. Because like when magic is being used as a science, is it still magic or is it now a sci-fi?
Yeah.
And
So it's
like,
narratives
I'm
that
curious about that.
incorporate magic, the supernatural, or fantastical elements,
Yeah.
often set in invented or mythic worlds. So
Yeah, which I mean that categorization I think could also land a decent chunk of sci-fi stuff. Like
yeah, I
because
mean that's
it's
why I say high
it's broad
fantasy
scale.
or high sci-fi,
Yeah, exactly.
because
I think it's gonna be interesting just to see. I hope, if anything, Cosmere gets people kicking because this is my jam. I really love fun genre melds. I think a lot of people would too. Like I love it when you can like even like better you start at a location. I love it when a fantasy starts as a fantasy and slowly kind of turns into something different. I always think it's super cool. Uh, I love blending genre, and I love that the Cosmere is going to be turning way more sci-fi. Like that's super sick.
and I think also like again, Brandon Sanderson's writing is masterclass. He has very accurately told very succinct low fantasy stories in what should essentially be a high fantasy world, you know, which makes it more grounded and a lot more tenable to
It
the
makes
audience.
me care. It makes me care a lot more. I always have a struggle where I can't. I can like it like all I want. I like Dragon Ball. I like JoJo. Like just two examples of it.
I'm an anime guy.
Oh yeah, like I love like a lot of stories where it has that, but like I don't. At the end of the day, I don't really care about like the what happens. Like I don't. I have zero doubts that like Goku's gonna win. I have zero doubts that like the big bad's gonna die at the end of a thing. What makes me care is when I know fully how the universe works. If I'm given a magic system and I know all of its details, I know all of its faults, and it has like a lot of downsides to it, I immediately care way more because I can put myself in that headspace and like try to almost figure out how you could utilize the power. And the Cosmere was the most I guess boiled down version of that, where it felt so gamey I could like learn the rules of it and port it to a tabletop system, which they did. But it's like that makes me care a lot more because now I know that there's not going to be like a big power up ass pull. It's going to be more justified, or a good decision is going to be made, and I'm going to be like, oh, that's so clever.
Yeah,
It makes me give a shit.
For me, it definitely varies because there's been some anime that have what should be a very interesting world and like rules, and I'm like, I want to know more, and it just completely botches it. The characters are so uninteresting, or nothing is inventively used with it, or mentions that like, you know, where there's like, So For Your End is such a good story that is not very like mechanically intense world building wise. Magic can just do kind of anything, and there's no explanation why characters who are warriors essentially can dunk a dragon with an oversized axe. But you don't need to know that because the storytelling is really good and the characters are well done. So
yeah, it's when there's that suspension of disbelief where it's like, would this be 100% accurate? That would go no. Is it like the purpose for the story to be told? Then yeah. Funny enough, that gets me remembering. It's kind of like why the Hunter x Hunter magic system is one of the coolest magic systems.
it's really sick, yeah.
It's really sick. And the big kicker is like you learn how it works exactly. It kind of has a personality quiz element to it. and it imposes really strong limitations. Like, it's so sick.
Yeah. So, the story isn't but it has sick fights in it. Like, it's a really good show. And the point of my statement wasn't that it's about fighting. It's just about, I don't need to know the world's setting for the anime to be good. I was just stating my stance on the situation.
Yeah.
Because like Naruto, for instance, the Naruto setting before Boruto anyway, is actually really good. It's actually insanely good. I love how chakra elements work, and it makes a lot of sense. You could make a game based on base Naruto. It gets a lot worse when you get into Boruto, but
I just know the orange-haired kid cries a lot, and I found it annoying.
Orange-haired kid?
Naruto.
He's blonde.
Is he?
Yeah.
I might be remembering his shirt or something. I just
you are remembering his jumpsuit.
I don't know. I watched the first 3 episodes of that show. He cried like 5 times, and my friend was like super hyped about it. I'm like, this is dog shit, man.
He also doesn't cry that much.
I don't know.
I mean, what you just said just completely dismissed any credibility. So I'm just gonna. I
don't care about my credibility of anime knowledge. Like, I watch what I watch, but like every time, this is just anecdotal evidence. Every time in my life Naruto has come up, I've walked into many situations where someone is watching Naruto. Every single time, with the exception of me sitting down and watching 3 episodes in a row with my best friend at the time, Naruto was crying in the scene I walked in on. Every single time. So I don't know why.
Doesn't happen that often.
I don't know.
Whatever. Anyway, we should get to the subject today, because we could wax poetic on genres and levels of fantasy or high fantasy or whatever.
I have no expertise in that shit. I just like what I like. So
that's fair. That's no one's asking more of you.
No, at the end of the day, it's a conversation. We'd be like fine-tuning definition stuff. But I'm curious what this new age of tabletop is.
Yeah, new age of tabletop. So, it is not lost on me that the TTRPG scene, as it exists today, is predominantly lifted up and presented to the wider audience by media. Right. Most people wouldn't know about D&D unless it had appeared in Stranger Things, movies, all that kind of stuff. Most people wouldn't care about it, and most people wouldn't care about the actual playing of the game if it wasn't for the many very, very popular live play channels who have made such fun experiences that people have been able to meme and like enjoy the culture. This whole thing is propped up purely by media. And I mean, that's kind of just how the world works, right? We don't know anything until it tells you. I keep discovering new games all the time that I would have been interested in had I known they even existed. But if I was to be more up on the ball on this kind of thing, well, you know what I would have to do? I'd have to be on Kickstarter or whatever, constantly searching through hundreds of terrible projects to know when these games are coming out or not.
True. Or like endlessly browsing Drive-Thru RPG and Itch.io.
Or going into various Discords because a lot of it is just not even out yet. Again, another video that needs to be made.
I do not put all your shit on Discord, please. I don't care and I don't want to join. Make a website. Everyone advertises Squarespace. Just do that.
But recently there's been some rumblings going on in the background that I'm going to deliver onto you all here today. So obviously we know about Daggerheart and Daggerheart and its overall effect on the sphere. I don't think a lot of people actually understand how much Daggerheart has actually like landed like a meteor into the TTRPG scene. Like, I know a lot of people understand, right? that Daggerheart is picking up a lot of people off of D&D, and for good reason. And okay, you know what? I'm being baited by this nuke conversation, but you know what? Actually, Dustbringer could just destroy the nuke. They atomize things at a molecular level. There would be no nuke if the Dustbringer decided to remove it. So, and also the power, the Surge of Division has destroyed a whole planet in a way we've actually never seen actual nuclear weapons do.
It's that.
Just saying.
It's like the magic destroyed a planet, not like an area. Also, there are things that are stronger than nukes. There's weapons that are able to kill a god, which is immensely powerful with what it's capable of. Like, it is 100%. Like, it is a lower tier magic system than a lot of other universes out there. But, like, it's not weak in comparison with, like, our world.
Yeah, it's not even that widespread. I think your misconception mostly just comes from the idea that, like, not everyone is using fireballs. That's definitely not how you should rate how powerful a magic system is.
And, like, Luke Cage's thing is he's just physically strong. Like,
no, well,
it's not
more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, like it's that is like a wrong scaling of it.
It feels like they've only read Mistborn and is judging all of Cosmere based on that, which is wrong. Anyway.
Oh no, it was like actually burning the planet completely. They had to run away from it.
Yeah, they conflagrated their atmosphere.
Yes, like it was oh fuck, we need to get out of here right now. Also, yeah, like you could, there's like a lot of different ways you could, like, with a decently powered magic person could just deal with it. Push the nuke away, unironically.
Yeah,
that, like,
and easily.
That could happen. Like, you could do something like that. You can, there's like time manipulation shit in Allomancy too. If a powerful enough else caller was there, just like, I don't care if this region gets nuked, let's teleport all of our people to another dimension. Then wait a minute and then like come back. Or we have we have Stormlight. We don't need to worry about radiation. Our bodies will heal itself.
Or just teleport the nukes to Shadespire.
Yeah, where it'll do nothing.
Which is like mostly fine. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got baited, but I wanted to make that statement because it's just that just states like nuke versus singular Dustbringer, and it's like not even a competition.
No.
Anyway. So, yeah, Ronan, you're right. So, like, in the past, because I was in this era too, finding out new TTRPGs was literally going to a bookstore and seeing what they had for sale mostly. Like, you had to go out and find it. And then RPG Drive-Thru came through, and that was huge. But, yeah, it was difficult. And, so it's unsurprising that when it comes to the TTRPG field, unless channels are out there milking content on it, you're not going to know about anything of what's happening. And I'll double down on this as well. Those channels rarely mention the full depth of what's going on. Let's take Daggerheart, for instance, right? So Daggerheart has been doing really, really well. But market share wise, and we're looking at the overall scene, we still don't know exactly like what part of the market share Daggerheart has stolen from D&D. That's going to be really hard to tell, and we won't know for like a year or 2 years even. It's just how economics work is very slow and all that kind of stuff. But what I do know is people like money. And what makes money is attention, like visual eyes on a thing. And so many D&D channels and many channels in general are just talking about Daggerheart. Now, while I'm sure some of these people are indeed interested in Daggerheart as a game by itself, they are doing this because Daggerheart is a hot topic thing and people are interested in Daggerheart, and Daggerheart is getting views. It's getting tons of views. So if we can roughly correlate that, since the level of interest in Daggerheart is so high for a new TTRPG, relatively speaking, it's massive. It's honestly coming in, and Darrington Press has been making comments about some massive market success. So much market success actually, that they're kind of just completely not paying too much attention to their illuminated world system, aka Candela Obscura. So they're just double downing on Daggerheart.
Haven't like seen anything on Candela Obscura, especially now. That makes sense. Like a big thing with this, with a lot of people shifting to it, yeah, that's how you get the attention. And it, just in case, creators doing it because it works and makes money is not mutually exclusive with they enjoy the game. Audience out there who could take it that we're calling all content creators shills.
Yeah.
No, because like it is the saddest thing in the world when you want to talk about something and it does so shit for your channel. And you're like, well, this pays the bills.
And a lot of people, like, it's their livelihood, so they have to make content that people will watch.
I've been shifting content. I used to be a full 40K channel, and now whenever I do 40K videos, it does like ass. So like I'm like, do I stop 40K? I don't think I ever will. But like, man, all the other things I covered do like 10 times better. But yeah, like even as someone like myself who is completely does not interface with tabletop content, I've at least seen chunks of it of like, oh yeah, Daggerheart's doing well. And if Darrington Press themselves are saying like it's doing that well financially, I believe them.
Yeah,
I think the bigger tell, if I don't know if they are publicly traded, because if they are, then we can directly see the financial data like at the end of this year or like beginning of next year.
It would be because we're in third quarter at the moment. So it'd be sometime in like October through January.
It just, if they're publicly traded, because then they're legally required to have those public. A lot of other places, if they're not, that's why you don't have the financial data. Which also, fun fact, if you're looking into stuff and you want to get a hint on what's upcoming soon, read those quarterly reports. There's some Warhammer like upcoming projects I've found out by reading those because I'm a nerd. But yeah, I think the cultural impact will land around the same time. Like give it like a year or two with Daggerheart. I think you could, if it has a large cultural shift and we don't get the financial data, I think that is also a really big tell that it's doing well. Because it is. And the big kicker is going to be how much momentum it keeps up in like the next couple years.
Yeah, which I think they're going to maintain. I think
they're going to do enough stuff to maintain it. Like they're not going to pull a 5th edition.
No, and see, and that's the thing. Like, Kitty over here was mentioning that a large part of its success was due to celebrity star power and being attached to Critical Role. Wrong. The reason why it did well for the most part was because D&D flopped as hard as it did. If D&D did not flop nearly that hard, it would be nowhere near. Like, yeah, sure, star power, but star power has been around for a lot of TTRPGs. Like, there's been some other relatively famous people who've kind of done TTRPG related things that have not had this near level of success.
I think the direct point of it too, Candela Obscura had the same star power and didn't work. Daggerheart is working because it can be seen as a successor to D&D without supporting Wizard of the Coast.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's a great example. The Candela Obscura fiasco
did not do well at all. You can be driven to people saying that like the game is like legitimately not well done or whatever. It was fine. I don't know. It felt like just
it's a rules light game. I'm not too upset about it. Yeah.
All the flaws people were pointing out, I was just like, this, you could, if you're gonna turn around and say you like Blades in the Dark, like it has the same shit. Like it's just same shit, kind of different paint, tuned up, made their own. But like, it has the same amount of star power. It's just the difference is there isn't a big noir kind of like, I guess rules light system that completely tanked its goodwill in the community, and like is seen as a sinking ship.
Well, you know, it's because the thing is, right, D&D flubbed high fantasy, which is essentially the life and breath of TTRPGs. So
Yeah.
it's
Uh,
D&D flopping and Daggerheart and Critical Role being there to pick it up. Yeah, sure. I mean, no one's arguing it's not a well done game. And to be fair, I definitely need to check into it a bit. But I'll definitely say Daggerheart is not the most well done game I've ever seen.
it seems like it's a game that is very good at what it's trying to do. Uh, it's not a game I would put in my list of like favorite games from like everything I've read, but it seems like it's doing what it's doing well enough. And if the game is easy to homebrew, and a lot of the D&D like people who love homebrewing do shift over to that with the community and get a lot of community support on top of that, building the community that way, I can also see it having more cultural longevity. Because I think that's a chunk of why 5th edition has lasted as long as it has, is pure. If nobody was out there doing like quality homebrew for 5th edition, I don't think people would care about it as much. It's just like because the community is so strong and there's just something there to like interact with.
And as far as ease of play is concerned, I mean, maybe sure. We are not casual enough to know if that's what actually people are actually interested in or what they're saying.
If I meet any Daggerheart players in the wild, I'm gonna chat to them about it.
Yeah,
because like I'm curious what the word on the street is, so to speak.
And the homebrew thing, there's been plenty of games in the past that have also done homebrew, like that can be homebrewed super duper easy because they're structurally just very sound. When you look into tabletop nearly as much as I have, like the bells and whistles of Daggerheart are interesting, sure. They're not that exciting though. like
it's homebrew from what I have interacted with it is kind of similar to how modding is for video games with like how it kind of operates as a community. Because if something like D&D had a better just everything, there's less of a demand for homebrew. Because I think Pathfinder has a pretty alright homebrew community for people making their own stuff and third-party content. The problem is the shell of Pathfinder is just too chunky. There's just enough there. You're not going to run out of fun stuff to do like D&D. In the same way that like an Elder Scrolls game has a lot of mod things. Because it also has because it's got a big enough shell to add your own content to. It then builds up a really nice community, and that community is like then self-perpetuating. It constantly is drawing more people in. And then you can play a game where you're like, oh yeah, the modding tools are super open. They had a pretty nice player base, but just there aren't people gathered around it as hard. A much smaller community is the Stalker modding community, which is smaller scale and very divided because the community is not as cohesive as like the Elder Scrolls modding community is. But D&D homebrew is all built around that thing of it is people working on it as like essentially their own little form of art form. And you can build entire like small careers out of it as like influencers and stuff being a homebrewer for 5th edition if it's quality enough, because they're not putting stuff out. And there's a lot of different factors than just like the game itself is easy to homebrew. And I think there's like has to be a really nice healthy mix of stuff. And then once it gets really big, that's when it starts becoming like a big factor for a game's longevity.
Yeah. I'll also say, as far as Pathfinder is concerned, Pathfinder kind of has an anti-homebrewers community of just a lot of people who hate people who try to homebrew Pathfinder. And
it's D&D. That's like D&D PTSD almost.
It's not even necessarily that. They're just there's this talk about the balance and how concrete it's built. And I gotta say, no one is more cringy about the numbers than Pathfinder players, I'll tell you. So,
I think if you're anti-homebrew for Pathfinder, like you probably got to get a stick out of your ass. Like, there's a lot of good third-party content. And also, if the Daggerheart homebrew scene is already really good, hell yeah, I hope it sticks, because I like the idea that you can make a game that actually has what I've seen a pretty good engine that then attracts the same level of D&D homebrewing. I think could be a net positive.
Yeah, and again, none of this We're not saying the homebrew isn't good. We're just saying we're putting scrutiny on the idea that the homebrewing is what is actually bringing people in. Like Daggerheart's success is D&D's flop mixed with Critical Role, who is a large facet of D&D's like public face shifting over, and something I didn't mention before, but the Daggerheart or the Critical Role and Daring to Impress people doing some ingenious moves in the creator space by having connections with Dimension 20 and Legends of Adventures now, and
Sweet.
that's all that brought it in. It's just eyes on Daggerheart, and honestly, D&D players wanting more from a game that won't love them back. So
it's like as also being pointed out in the chat, I think I roughly agree that like it's landing at a perfect time. It's being connected with the right people for great just output, getting everyone's eyes on it. It's like it is like the first great alternative to D&D outside, like at post the whole OGL thing. And then the kicker is that the game itself is good. Like it's just it works well. It's good. It's what people want. So you get an even wider audience. Because obviously, if the game was dog shit, then it's not going to do as well. Just right off the gate, you're gonna have the selling point. But it being good then also drags people who are like, oh my god, finally a game that's decent. 5e's been my thing, but it has so many problems.
Yeah,
but
and
if Daggerheart came out 5 years ago, I don't think it would do as well.
I agree, mostly because most of its mechanics are not new. They're just polished, which is fine.
That is like my big critique of it. Is just the fact that it feels like it's a little too D&D for my taste.
Well, there's that too, yeah. Theming wise and like some of the races and all that for sure. I also feel that, but you know, that's a preference thing, right? Exactly. I won't say that's a negative for the game, but so Daggerheart. We talked about Daggerheart. Everyone understands the whole Daggerheart situation. That's huge. And in addition to this, Daggerheart is not a D20 system, which is kind of cool. And in many ways breaks the mold for how many TTRPGs have been designed up until this point. I feel like, starting to leave the D20 age of tabletop, which is glorious, because while I do love the D20, it is a special place in my heart for dice. It is not a good randomizer. It is too swingy.
I so hope that if Daggerheart is the real push to make this different, more games, it's profitable, make a new game, I hope it lets people deviate from D20s, because like I would love it if like someone come up with a cool ass dice system and that is unique and fun, rather than like I roll a D20 and I add a number. It's like, it's got its flaws, but also it's just that moment of like, are you doing this because like a D20 is actually the best dice system you found for your mechanics, or are you doing this because it's like what people know?
Yeah,
and it's what people have done before.
It's what D&D 5e does. That's kind of the reason. So, you know, and that's what Cosmere did, and you know what? It sucks. It's just not good.
The DCs feel better, but yeah, I wish Brotherwise could tap into their. I know that those devs are there, and had that want to make a weird, fun dice system.
Yeah, that's true, and I do remember there was so White Wolf came out with all its games. It was a D10 game. It was the dice pool, multiple D10s system, which I like. I don't know if I really should make a video on like all the different dice systems and how they work and do like a tier list. That would be interesting.
Here's the thing. Here's the big kicker with that. You gotta find, like, you gotta obviously have all the big ones. You gotta find some absolutely fucking bizarre dice systems that are like done one time. Just like, because a lot of the fun of that video is going to be like, people open it, it's immediately you with a green screen tier list, and then there's way more dice systems than they could have ever thought of, and they're like, wait a second, what is that? That would be super sick. You should make that, because I want to watch that.
Just put it on the lists.
I think I'm a dice pool guy. all of my favorite game like dice systems I've played with are dice pools where you roll for success or failures, and like the symbols cancel each other out. Uh, like World of Darkness does it not to that same extent as my favorite, the Star Wars Fantasy Flight game. But like I love me a dice pool.
So I definitely had to make a video on that. But yeah, and Daggerheart has proven a lot of people wrong. Daggerheart has proven a lot of what people thought people wanted in TTRPGs to just be wrong. The D20 is the biggest example I can give of people don't want, people just want to use D20s because they're familiar. Well, apparently that wasn't the case. And in fact, doubly so because they have the whole hope and fear system, which is a whole nother layer on top of the dice system. It's not just simply rolling 2d12s. It is way more than that. So Genesis's RPG is my favorite. Yeah, I really need to look into a lot of these games too to have, because I know of them, but I haven't played or like overly read into them. So along with Daggerheart, we had the release of the Cosmere RPG, which honestly was kind of like a pebble being thrown into a pond. It didn't make that much of a ripple, honestly. It's been fun to be a part of, and I really like the Cosmere, and it's really fun to see Dragonsteel really get back into the TTRPG field in a bigger way than before. And I do feel like with every new book they release, in the years to come, Cosmere is going to become bigger and better. It's just going to be more and more interesting.
It's doing what I wanted out of it, which, like, if it didn't get massive appeal, whatever, but my hope the whole time was that it would do well enough for itself to continue existing and continue making content. It's like that's all I want out of this. If I like me a niche game, I'll like me a niche game. I honestly think it is a net better thing for a game I don't particularly enjoy or am interested in to be the big like beacon for people, and then they can divvy out into more interesting games. If Daggerheart's going to replace that beacon, then hell yeah, have fun, people.
Yeah, I mean, especially just because, again, it breaks a lot of the standard tabletop conventions that we've been holding on to forever, like how initiative is done, and
yeah, it's got a great initiative system,
character creation, and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things that it has broken away from the mold, and thus we're in a lot better space. So we have Cosmere coming in, not really doing a whole lot, but introducing another relatively big TTRPG. See, this is the thing. This is why I'm bringing Cosmere up specifically. We're now in a year where multiple TTRPGs are coming out and getting people's attention. That was not really a thing before. It was D&D and then Pathfinder, its much nerdier cousin. And that was about it.
Outside of Pathfinder, can you think of a game, let's say 2019, I feel is like a safe age, maybe 2018. Can you think of a new TTRPG release that actually got people interested in it?
Maybe Lancer during those times, to be fair. But not like even that on a bigger scale. Yeah.
No, like not to the extent that it seems like it's happening now.
Hey, Kitty, you mentioned something I'm going to bring up later. Sword World's very, very interesting. We'll get to that. That's my secret winner button for this one. We'll talk about that one. And so, yeah, be hyped for Sword World. We're going to talk about that. So Cosmere came out, and a lot of people, generally speaking, are now just paying more attention. And just recently, we had another big TTRPG came out in the overall space that is somewhat D&D adjacent. Though I'm sure, Alex, you're close enough to at least me. Do you know what this other game is?
Is it one of the other D&D successors?
Yes.
There's the one done by the YouTuber.
Okay.
Matt Colville. Is it that one?
Yes.
Okay. I was right. I just don't know the name of it because I don't care about the system.
But I've actually looked into it a little bit, and it actually is looking really good.
That's good.
They have an interesting social encounter system that is way more in depth and is even better than Cosmere's, which
Nice.
is good. So, Draw Steel.
I like.
Go ahead.
I like the. I hope it hits for like the stuff you've read, because I've read nothing but the splash page for it, where it says it's trying to harness the idea of a cinematic combat rather than like a crunchy by the numbers combat. That's where I'm curious how that's going to do it.
But Draw Steel. Now, Draw Steel is, I would say, the same level of impact without the market appeal of Daggerheart, because Draw Steel goes in and, one, it doesn't use D20, which again, yay. But two, Draw Steel is, do you want a D&D like experience but way crunchier and better designed, like at every level, like combat and social and exploration? That's what Draw Steel is. Draw Steel is, what if D&D 6e came out and they actually put like a lot of effort into it? Many of the classes have very interesting mechanics. They work in very unique ways. There is a lot of resource farming. A lot of the different classes have their own kind of resources that they have to manage and everything like that, which I'm into for sure. And in addition to that, it is legitimately looking really solid, and it has a really rabid fan base. There's a lot of people who've been sucking this game's dicks, just being like, this is the new greatest game ever to come out for TTRPGs, which is always a good thing to see. I want to see people excited for TTRPGs. I don't believe them, but I'm excited to see the hype at the very least.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. The classes sound very interesting, even though it's very obvious many of the mechanics and many of the class names are just different names for the same classes in D&D. Like, what was the Bard one? It's like Troubadour or something like that. It's essentially the same thing. It's
roughly more limited, the idea of a Troubadour versus a Bard. A Bard is a wider ranging word.
I don't remember the exact name, but it's something along those lines.
I get the idea of that. There's a lot of settings that try to do it, because they're like, we're not going to call it a fighter. You're a warrior. It's that kind of thing. Which I will be getting that book soon to look at it, because I am very curious. I like how I said I'll talk about the sword world, and then just continue talking about it, just having your own conversation there. So it came out, and it is drawing people in. I feel like Draw Steel is going to be like the Grognard's Daggerheart in a lot of ways. Maybe not all Grognards, but like for the people who are that looked at Daggerheart and thought, oh, the tieflings, like kind of like me, to be honest, because I was like, oh yay, tieflings are back, woo. Not that I hate tieflings, it's just tieflings are the that's my OC ancestry from D&D, and they just brought it to Daggerheart because people are going to make tieflings. That's it. That's the part I'm not a fan of that Daggerheart did. It's just like, people like this thing. As a tiefling enjoyer, it has to be kind of justified in the world it's in. I will say, when it comes to just like the style of it, Draw Steel artistically is way more my vibe.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a very tiefling-esque person, but this feels a lot cooler than the Daggerheart one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tieflings in Daggerheart have like the same kind of art as they do in D&D, and they're called tieflings. And in Draw Steel, it's something else. And yeah, it is the spiritual successor to 4E, which was a much more tactical D&D that tried to kind of 4E was ahead of its time for its overall design principles. There was a little bit too much homogeneity, and the game just didn't get the tender love and care that it really needed. And Draw Steel feels like the strategic, better, much more polished 4E for D&D.
I am immediately more interested in Draw Steel because, and I apologize for being so dismissive of it earlier, only because every time a game has been called a spiritual successor to 4th edition, it's been an absolute banger and I loved it.
Yeah.
So like, all right, I'll trust it. I'll trust Draw Steel. If it plays as well as that, like all those kind of descriptions sound, like hell yeah.
So Draw Steel coming out is huge. It's going to get a much more of the niche part of the market, sure, but it's going to get the people who played D&D who went into the deep end of the TTRPG pool. You know, not the casuals, not the cosplayers, but the people who got into D&D and wanted more are going to want Draw Steel. It's actually really good for everything I've seen and from the research I've been able to do so far. Like I said, I will be buying the book soon. It is very much how, well, 4E was just a genre shift from 3 and 3.5 more predominantly that people didn't like. It wasn't that it wasn't a good game. It just shifted dramatically what made 3.5 good and went a very different route. And that's why 4E got a lot of hate, because all the D&D players were like, I would rather stick with 3.5 or go to Pathfinder. And that's what happened. So
I find that it interesting only in the perspective of getting into the tabletop community when 4E was just like, this is the worst tabletop game that's ever been made, was like kind of the vibe. And I knew nothing about it. I was like, yeah, they're probably right. And then I'm remembering at the time, like me getting into it, hearing people describe why it was bad. One of the descriptions was like, combat is really like a fine-tuned tactical and takes way too long. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what I'm into. Like, that is fun. I think it's realizing that 4th edition had its issues, but it inspired all the right people because it had some good ideas in it.
And I'm going to make like doubly a mention back towards Cosmere here real quick, but people are looking into new games. Our Stonewalker game, which is a live play, and my content in general, has been getting way more views than a newer tabletop usually gets. And part of that is the Cosmere heads, sure, but people are just now being much more open to the idea of finding new tabletop games because of Draw Steel, because of Daggerheart, where the idea of learning a new game system isn't something that people are shying away from because that's just the convenient excuse a lot of people wanted to make because they still liked D&D. Now that there's better D&D out there, essentially, that excuse isn't working as much, and people are actually willing to make that jump more because the game is appealing, and Draw Steel is doing much the same thing. So right now, we have, for the first time in a long time, a true splintering of the TTRPG like zeitgeist. We have people who still love D&D. We have people who are moving ship to Daggerheart. We have people who are now just foaming at the mouths for Draw Steel. And then we have some people who are like, I read the Cosmere books. Let me look into the Cosmere RPG. One of which whom I spoke with last week, unfortunately, Alex.
I'm still sad about that.
Jason, who was awesome, and
I'm just happy I got to have him know that I love his reading order and I shill it endlessly. That's it. He's responsible for me talking so much about it. So I just wanted him to know that. And you know, actually thinking about it, I don't know, there's like a third D&D successor game. I also always remember it was Draw Steel in like another game that was always talked about. I don't remember which one that is. But there's a with how it's looking right now, I think it's honestly a good thing, and you touched on it, of the splintering of the community, but instead of all everybody rallying behind one game to do everything like D&D is, I think it is a significantly healthier thing for the entire ecosystem for people who like maybe a lot of the tone of D&D games. They like the OC aspect of it. They like, they're the people who would play Tiefling, but not like me, how I play Tieflings, the cool and based way. They those people go into Daggerheart. And then it's like, as you put it, kind of the grognards. A lot of the people who are there for a lot of the crunchier game aspect will be taken to Drawsteel. I think that is a healthier environment.
Yes, I agree. And yeah, DC 20 is the next one. Honestly, every time I keep looking into it, it just looks okay, which is fine. But compared to Drawsteel, I would be very hard pressed to play DC 20 instead.
I'm happy you're saying it, because I was about to say I don't know anything about it and I don't think I'm interested.
Which is funny because I've mentioned it several times on this.
Like I get it. Like if it's more D&D like, I'm less into it. But the reason I'm hesitant is because I just said that about Drawsteel and then was convinced that I was wrong for saying that.
Yeah.
So I don't want that to happen with DC 20. I imagine it's gonna be fine, but like, if a takeaway is that it's way more kind of D&D like, I'm not gonna be as into it. It just depends on like how much stuff's out for it right now.
Yeah, to be fair, I haven't looked too deep into it and I haven't done any deep research on it, so who knows? It could be good. I just haven't been impressed so far.
The art style is very much what currently like D&D is. It's a lot more of the like bright colored fantasy, like high fantasy style. It's definitely going to appeal to people, but like, I don't know. It looks fine.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm kind of just sick and tired of the whole D&D aesthetic for TTRPGs anyway. I'm always hungry for new stuff.
Yeah.
Cosmere.
I like me a high fantasy game. I think I'll always deep down, like if we're doing a game and then it comes up of like, hey, let's do like a traditional high fantasy, like Western fantasy style game, sword and board magic and all that, I'd still do it, because like there's the nostalgia and like the part of me that does want to do a big fun adventure where we're going into caves full of goblins and finding ancient ruins and a dragon comes down. Like that's just a very specific vibe that I think I'll always love and kind of appreciate. But there's just a lot of other really cool games with cool settings too.
And the sad thing about everything that's been happening right now is if a lot of quite a few other games had like held their peace a little longer and waited for this breakout period, because you might think, well, releasing a game right now and competing with Daggerheart would be kind of bad, but I would say it would be a good choice because people are now opening up to the idea of playing new games, and so since they're already learning a different game from D&D to play Daggerheart, they're going to be less resistant to try other types of games and see if there's a little bit a better fit for them. And so if Lancer or Fabula Ultima or a variety of other really good games that released like 4 or 5 years ago, or 5 or more, released now, they would probably honestly be doing a lot better, and we'd have a lot more interesting of a neo renaissance of TRPGs, where everyone's spoiled for choices of all these new games and their fancy bells and whistles. But because they don't, people are gonna not really know that they exist, because again, as I started this whole thing off, you don't know anything about the TTRPG space unless someone tells you about it, or you're just deep in the weeds in it like I am. It's just how it is.
I get my tabletop news every Thursday, 4 p.m. PST, and I just don't interact with it because I can't really watch a lot of tabletop content unless it's educational content for games I play, because every time I'm like, why would I listen to this? I can just go play the game they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sub to the channel, get your news here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm learning with you guys, that's my job here.
Speaking about learning with everyone else, now, Alex, do you know the best-selling TTRPG in Japan?
I'm going to put together context clues.
Yeah.
I think it's Sword World.
It is Sword World. Sword World has been, for the last 17 years, the highest-selling TTRPG in Japan.
This makes sense because when Sword World was talked about today, I was like, that sounds like I've heard that before. I have heard that name. I don't know anything about it, but I've heard that name. And I know roughly about some of the tabletop community in Japan. I've heard that what some of the differences in like taste and style are for Japan. I think it's been interesting from like the bits I've heard.
Yeah, I thought it was Call of Cthulhu too, honestly, for a long time, because that's what you hear.
Yeah.
But no, in fact, it has been Sword World. Sword World was based on a home campaign of 3.5 D&D that these guys made. They wanted to make their own official setting for D&D, like their Dragonlance essentially for Japan, and were denied, and thus decided they wanted to make their own TTRPG instead. If you are familiar with the old anime, let's see, was it Record of Lodoss War? Yeah, the Record of the Lodoss War. Everyone thought that was heavily inspired by D&D, which technically it was, but it was actually more closely inspired by Sword World. And many anime that we know now today, like Dungeon Meshi, are not based on D&D. They're based on Sword World.
Oh, okay.
Which was based on D&D, I should iterate, but like more specifically, it was due to Sword World's success that many of them have taken the ideas that were popularized by it.
That makes sense.
But no one knows about it. No one knows about this game, at least not here in the West. Even though, ironically, we're closer to the East to them here, but whatever. It is remarkable. And just recently, we're going to be getting a Kickstarter for an official English release of 2.5. It's going to be starting next year.
Oh. I mean, I'm not even just to compare it, but like, because, you know, our most popular TTRPG, but if it is like the most best-selling TTRPG of an entire ass country, a big country, then like it's got to have some sauce in it.
Well, and of course, again, like many famous anime that we watch, you know, like Free Ren, for instance, also, again, probably inspired by Sword World. I hate this word for some reason, Sword World.
It doesn't flow as great, just with in English, of just like.
Also, my dyslexia is kicking my butt here.
That, yeah, I flub it together, like, but like, I just pulled up a list of the classes, and I don't know. I definitely see. I'm like, oh yeah, this is very like, especially 3.5 inspired with like a lot of the classes and how things are separated. Because there's a fighter, but there's also a fencer, a grappler. The edgelord in me calls out to the abyss gazer. That's probably sick as hell.
Well, there's been plenty of anime-based games that have not done well, so I wouldn't say that would be any stipulation. Fabula Ultima being a primary example. But
which sucks because like Fabula Ultima is pretty sick.
It's good. I really like it. I needed to do more videos on it. But the fact that it was top selling in Japan is the pedigree is probably going to at least get some people interested. I will be looking into it and covering it here on the channel as well. And in addition to all of this, we're starting to see more interesting games start popping up as like a revitalization. The fall of D&D, as I called it last fall, has become a whale fall.
Yeah.
So
I hope it keeps going.
Yeah. So many games are now feeding off of the detritus that was the failure of D&D 5.5 / D&D 2024. And it was the push a lot of people needed to make new games. I had bought recently at the store. Let me get my book. Cloud Break Alliance, very anime. I'm a weeb, that's fair. Very interesting game. It's not near my top 5, but it's very interesting. And
It
this
looks
one came out
interesting.
last year. And I had no idea. I would not have known had I not just stumbled across it in the store. But it's a fascinating game that uses 2d6 again, with a skill point system, and in addition to this, interesting class mixing and class disciplines. So like there's disciplines, and each discipline has 2 classes. You level up one of those classes, and as you do so, you also gain the discipline features that it shares essentially with the other class. And you get 2 classes together that make your overall class, whatever character you are. And there are certain requirements for you to play advanced classes. And it's very, very interesting. It also uses an open grid system, not a standard grid system. So its grid system are more like locales. They're called zones. And multiple characters can essentially fit on the same zone, and characters in the same zone are essentially in melee combat with each other. All very interesting mechanics. And a lot of love and care was put into the game's setting and its world lore. I was showing my friends before, but they have a full taxonomy chart in here. Magic is incredibly interesting because you attune to a specific element, and when you attune to multiple elements, you can get spell combinations that you get new access to that are essentially added to your spell list, and all kinds of really interesting things. A really cool game that I just stumbled across in a store like I did in the 90s. And that's just to show that like everything has changed, and yet everything is the same for TTRPGs. Unless it's something big and new and poppin', people aren't gonna know. But the thing is that people are now looking. We're paying attention, and new games are coming out with new and better mechanics. I mean, heck, my game that I've been designing, and now it's actually turning into 2 games. I love how it works. I like the combat.
2 games.
Yes, I'm designing my own high fantasy sister game that's going to be a little bit more straightforward and less, mind bendy than the 333.
Fair.
Just one as I'm making it to play test more combat and more like standard adventure stuff. And 2,
makes sense.
It will be more appetizing to people to get in and look. Like, for instance, on the Patreon, now the Patreon is going to have 2 systems rather than 1 system that's being developed, which is cool. And 2, when the game releases, people will get familiar with the more comfortable, cozy, high fantasy setting, and then can go to the 333, which I've always said the 333 is a lot more of a niche, like, this is my game style game.
I think it's also a good chance to a big thing we've often talked about was you just mentioned that like there's a specific vibe of epic fantasy, high fantasy that like you want. This is a good example, a chance to just kind of make that as a setting, and make a game for that.
Yeah, and it's called Thaumasite. It's very interesting. I'm writing the rules and the world lore and going more into the world lore for this one. But I love how it mechanically works. I like how my own game works, obviously, but like also genuinely from a more critical standpoint, I think a lot of what my game system does adds a purpose for more aspects of a story that are not just combat related, Befriending NPCs legitimately is beneficial to your character and helps you grow stronger, which is good. I think that's very necessary. I feel like games should reward you for playing how you want to play and not reward you only for how well you do in combat.
Mm-hmm. It's give me some cool things to do outside of combat. Exploring is fun too. And RPing is fun too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to do everything but better. That's pretty much it.
That's how you do it. It's kind of like, man, I wish this would be good. What if I just made my own?
Yeah, exactly. Um, so it's something where TTRPGs are going to hit a new age, and this year I think is very much going to be like the start point people are going to look back at, mostly because of Daggerheart's release, which, you know, fair enough. I think Daggerheart lit the flame, and I think it's going to be our front runner, our vanguard for the upcoming years in the TTRPG space, which does mean I will have to eventually start covering it to some degree. Uh,
Yeah.
which, you know, I'm not upset about. I just, you know, I aesthetically, I just wish it was different. Aesthetically, I just wish they just weren't so D&D coded. That's my only gripe.
Yeah, like I I wish the aesthetic of it was a little bit cooler. Just is my own preference for like a lot darker fantasy. Um which is why uh the draw steel hits me harder. So I'm like, that's if I'm gonna have a high fantasy like with all the shenanigans going on, that's the vibe I want. That right there, just from all the pictures. DC 20 is in the same lens for me as Daggerheart of like, man, this game seems fine. DC 20 is probably cool. I don't know anything about it. The art style isn't for me.
I mean, if the idea behind it is okay, this is D&D 5e but better, everything fixed. Sure, that's good. I think that's really good. It's something where I'm excited, and someone had mentioned it earlier, which is super funny because I had also run into it. The Mists of Legend of Mists. I think it's Mists of Legends.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds familiar. That was mentioned.
Legend in the Mists. There it is. Is a very interesting game that's recently also just dropped, and they have actually a demo you can play, so you can see if you like the game. They have like a little pre-made adventure essentially, and it's very interesting. It's a keyword-based game, so you roll dice like any other. It uses the standard kind of like Powered by Apocalypse 2d6 system, and you add bonuses to your rolls, not based on stats, but based on keywords you've added to your character. And as you go through the adventure, you can change and gain or even lose these keywords. And some keywords have a greater effect that give you essentially more power for your checks. And it's very interesting. Not quite my type of game, but I'm definitely interested in looking into it for sure. But for instance, so in the demo, for you, your mother is sick, and you need to go out and find the special plant to find her. And so you choose some keywords at the beginning, and one of them is like dedication to your family. You know, that's a big positive trait. Where if you're doing a thing that is going to help you save your mother, you add extra power to that. But you also, one of your weaknesses was your family. So you would get a reduction in your power in scenarios where your weaknesses come up too. And it's very simple, but very easy. And the core book is like 460 some odd pages, which is insane for a game like this.
Like this is a rules light style game, right?
Roughly, yes.
Roughly, okay. Because I'm just saying that like that system you're saying of like having descriptors or in like keywords be part of the mechanic. I think it's a really clever idea for a much more rules light game.
It's not a rules light. I'll say that it's not a rules light. It's more
I don't
rules light than I like, but it has conditions. You can use abilities that do conditions on enemies and stuff like that in combat scenarios. It is a very mechanically intense game in some ways, but I don't know the full extent of this. And to be fair, I'm quoting Bob Worldbuilder, whose ideal game is 21 pages.
Fair. I'm at least, if there's a scale for people who are familiar with this game, as well, like D&D above or below, if you had to make the fun linear rules light to rules heavy scale. But because like that keyword system sounds super sick. Like that's a really dope mechanic. It plays into a lot of RP stuff in my own like I have fun with mechanics of like my character has a flaw. There is a thing the GM has access to make my character operate worse. I always like doing that.
Yeah.
And if that's just a mechanic of the game that then kind of gets hit on me to do, based. I love it.
Yeah, I would say, like, imagine Monster of the Week, only just much more in depth. And that's kind of like the vibe. Gotcha.
Like,
right,
that makes sense.
Like, there were abilities in Monster of the Week that did help modify your checks, made your stats better, all that kind of stuff. But it is
above that.
But it is just like, for instance, if you were like an alchemist, then whenever you roll checks to craft or make or whatever alchemical items, you would add a bonus. Or if you become like a grand alchemist, you know, and like your whole story is about becoming a better alchemist, then you would get an even bigger bonus to checks around that kind of thing. Or if you like joined an organization, then you would gain special benefits where the organization would be strong and all that. And like I said, there are like combat conditions that can occur. You can put status conditions on enemies, and like in Bob's words, there was just too much stuff that could happen during the course of a game, which tells me that it's probably just a good amount. Like, yeah, like we not like anything I would say is that. Like Bob Worldbuilder, nothing, no harsh on him.
He seems like a nice guy.
Just really is a rules light player. That's just his strongest preference. His favorite like designed game is Cairn, which is like a 21 page like rules light kind of game.
I think I've read through Cairn. I think it's cool. Like, yeah, it's solid.
But not a man I would trust anywhere on telling me information I would think is relevant for TTRPGs.
Yeah,
because we like two very different types of games.
Yeah. The only other bit I was thinking about it, we're just going over like aesthetics of stuff, because I'm curious now with Sword World and being like the biggest game in Japan. I was looking at art for it. It really runs the gambit of like what you see on Google Images, to the point where I don't know what the game's aesthetic is going to be when it releases here. There's art I hope is more of the style of it.
I'll put in Sword World 2.5.
Let's look. Some of this hits the vibe I'm thinking of, like where I see like I don't know what it is because I can't read it, but it's just 3 different colorful women. One pure white, one red, one green. I'm like, all right, that's a solid enough style.
Oh, that's because that's based on the actual cover art for the book, which is a red sword, a white sword, and a green sword.
I'm looking at one that is an anime lad with orange hair and a woman who is either an elf, so she is either 500 or 14.
Yeah. That one is definitely it.
Beans, because like it is my only quibble, which is a pure preference thing, so it's not even a quibble about the game itself. There's zero knocking against it. Of like, man, when I think of like a style, this type of like very Japanese fantasy style that I get super into, one of them is Berserk, because I think the development of dark fantasy in Japan is a really interesting story for how it progressed. It's super cool, but like it's the old Kojima Castlevania art, or I think it's Amano. I think it's Amano for the old Final Fantasy art, like pre-7, I think is when they stopped doing it. Like that is my vibe of like that is super sick. At least the actual book for Sword World, that's an art style I fuck with harder. But that's just a me thing, being like a lot of the very like staple anime styling is not fully for me. But if the game itself is sick, then hell yeah. I'll look past it.
Yeah, the last one I just posted is the actual, like, at least the image on the cover art.
Okay, the second one, that rips. That is immediately, I'm into that.
Yeah, that is, I think, like an adventure path type thing. To be fair,
Cool,
it
like-
doesn't have a very cogent art style. They very
Fair.
much range.
Well, honestly, I kind of fuck with that then too. I like the idea of having like a bunch of different artists being able to work on this. If it landed, though, if I had to pick of a lineup, it's that second image you sent me.
Yeah.
Labyrinth That Catches the Stars, which, you know, that's a pretty cool name too. That art speaks to me a lot more than this 15 or 500-year-old elf woman with her orange-haired friend.
Yeah. Yeah. To be fair, aesthetically, I definitely like my weeb stuff a bit more. I like.
That's super fair.
I like that one. So, like, fair is fair.
Yeah, it's different preferences. If the game is good, and like, I don't fuck with Fabula Ultima's like art, except when it gets pixely, like old JRPG style.
Yeah,
that I fuck with. However, Fabula Ultima is a good enough game. I mean, it wouldn't impact me anyways. Like, it's a good game, so I can be like, my preference is my preference. Anima is a lot more egregious with like, it ranges from something I think is so sick to like, okay, this is getting a little too weeby for my taste. But Anima rules. I love that game.
Anima's really good. Yeah, Wen-M, his art.
Great artist.
Always gonna be legendary to me.
For real. I might not like a lot of the style, like the style of it, but like there is some absolute bangers that I can only imagine took a stupid amount of time to work on. Dude's a trooper. Dude's a legend.
Yeah. But the reason why I bring up Sword World, or I brought it up before, was because why do you think a game that's super successful in Japan, that has mostly only been successful in Japan, and by the way is being brought over by at least some sublet of the main company who's been managing it, would be interested in bringing it to the Western market?
I have a weird theory.
Sure.
And this is purely like, I don't know how long they've been working on a Western release, so it could easily be wrong. But part of me is looking at what the effect of the Uma Musume horse game has been, where it's like, hey, let's bring this game to the West, and then it just fucking explodes in the West.
Okay,
where you see
fair,
like how absolutely financially successful that move can be.
Kind of yes, but Uma Musume is already dropping off. It's not being talked about nearly as much after the last
I see
few
it
weeks.
too much. The big streamers doing it, yeah, 100%. However, because I do play it, it's the one big weeb thing I'll do. I do have access to some of the influencer clubs because I'm following some of them, and I can at least see the people that are not streaming it are still playing it every day.
Some, sure, but I guarantee it's dropping off the numbers.
It's probably dropping off a bit, but like, at least every time I look at that club with all the influencers in it, it's last logged in 5 hours ago, last logged in 6 hours ago. It's definitely not to the extent where when everyone was streaming it and getting obsessed with it.
But anyway, no, it's not necessarily. Well, I wouldn't say. I don't know because they haven't stated outwardly. But it's because they think it can be successful, at least to some degree.
Oh, yeah.
If the market was still as impenetrable as it was with D&D, I feel like they wouldn't have felt as confident in doing this. And to be fair, this is being done through crowdfunding, right? This is going to be done through some form of crowdfunding. So it's not like they're hard investing a bunch of their own money into it, but they are interested in at least testing the waters out in the US. And I think that's because, one, D&D has just not been doing well, and two, there's been an obvious increase in interest in the TTRPG field. And I feel like, when you're designing a game or when you are running a game, you want it to be liked by as many, or at least seen by as many people as possible. And so I think this is just a really good indicator that the market is vastly changing like we'd never seen before. And we are looking at legitimately a new era for TTRPGs in America, where we're having a second golden age in TTRPGs, you know, where we're getting all kinds of really cool, new, interesting games. They're playing with mechanics, they're making something interesting. And this makes me excited because I am a TTRPG like lifelong hobbyist. I'm going to be playing this till the day I die, in some degree or another. And the idea that a game that I would like even more than like Pathfinder Second Edition is so mouth-wateringly tantalizing.
Oh yeah.
I'm hungry for something new, something different, something that can scratch some of the itches that Pathfinder cannot scratch. Because
The
go ahead.
Yeah, this is like the time, definitely, to bring a game over to other audiences. This is like the entry point. I think it's a really good point of it, and especially because like translating and actually like shipping out your artistic work to other people and all around the world, that's super expensive. It's
Yeah.
the part of tabletop games where like it has to run the gambit of being a publishing industry too, and publishing is really hard to get those margins good for like making money. You essentially need it to be a giant smash hit to make all of your profit back. You can make like a profit and then you can make like a profit when it comes to like printing. So like actually getting it out to people, tougher, but easier nowadays. And there's like a market there for more tabletop games. There's an existing market in the States, especially, that is product is Japanese. I want that. So I think it's going to attract a lot of people. And then if it's objectively cool, which it seems like it is, then it brings a lot of people who aren't immediately attracted to like the style of it or just the idea of like, oh shit, the most best-selling tabletop game in Japan. I'm curious what that is. So it's going to draw like I can see it doing well. I hope it does well even more. I hope it does really well because my hope is that it signals to a lot of other places around the world to start localizing their games. Because like I imagine you think about this too. You think about how like there's probably your favorite tabletop game, an absolute banger that like you've never heard of because it's so insular in a different country and like it's fully in a different language, so you probably don't even know it exists.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah,
recently I've had that. One of my favorite like novel, well, it's a web novel, but like fantasy kind of isekai setting, Lore of the Mysteries. That's such a fantastic like eldritch horror story. It's really cool, very very interesting. A world super well thought out and everything. It is what I've always wanted in like a cult fantasy. And it was in China this whole time. And you know, it's like we don't ever get anything out of China except for, well, I guess nowadays that's even changing. But
we're getting like a lot of most we ever got was movies. That was always the big thing. It was movies. There was some books, but it didn't do as well. It was, and honestly, half of that, if not 75% of what I'm talking about as like media exported is Hong Kong. It's Hong Kong's film industry.
Yep.
Like, there's a reason why Hong Kong like action is kind of basically a genre of film. So like now it's being transcended even more because now we have so many different avenues of media to experience.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's gacha games, I think.
No, and not even gacha really. I mean, like somewhat, but like not a lot of gacha games are like not made in China. Some are, but most are like Korea, Japan.
Yeah.
They get like bought up by Chinese companies. But to reiterate the point, it is probably just my favorite occult fantasy series. I haven't even finished reading it yet, but it's just so good. The world is so deep and complex, and the writing is so incredibly interesting. And it was in China this whole time, and I never would have known. And what are there amazing TTRPGs in China we don't know about yet? It could be a thing. Honestly, one of my favorite animations for the longest time was Wakfu, and that was done in France. And people barely know about Wakfu here in America. Like, just roughly, it got a little bit popular, but like not nearly as much as it should, because Wakfu is amazing animation wise. It's really, really good, and the story is really good too.
Is an MMO?
It was an MMO, yes.
Oh, okay. It is an MMO. It was, but there's other forms of it. Okay.
Yeah, there's an anime that's really, really good.
Fair.
I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, like I'm trying to remember what's the exact place, because I know that there's a growing big tabletop scene in it's in South America. It's been popping off.
Brazil?
I think it is. I have to check because because funnily enough, it's like one of my highest channel demographics. There it is. Yes, you're correct. It's Brazil.
It's Brazil, yeah. Also
Brazil's
one of mine.
Yeah, like because we've talked about it, like just Brazil, and like we've had people even come into the live chat from Brazil. Because I mentioned that in one of my my Mage the Ascension videos, I make a shout out to like one of my top areas from Brazil, and a bunch of people were like, "Yeah, Brazil's been like growing. The tabletop community's been just popping off."
Yeah. And it's
apparently they because I got this comment, that's why I need to look into this now. Because someone was like, I translated, finally I mentioned of Brazil, and then I said like, oh, it's been popping off for a bit from what I've heard. And they're like, you don't know, we love RPGs in Brazil. We even have our own D&D Pathfinder. Its names are Old Dragon and Tormenta. Apparently it's been popping off since the 80s, but like it hasn't just pierced out because it's in a different language.
Yeah.
I was just saying like, oh no, this is from like my own analytics and my friend who has the exact same demographic makeup. And he's like, hell yeah, we need more Brazil like visibility in TTRPG. So I'm curious what Old Dragon and Tormenta are. Because like, what if they're sick?
Right. And again, we have the pleasure of playing like tabletop at least once a week. I play twice, and that's rare in the TTRPG field. Oh, yeah. So like we get a lot out of our games. We do a lot of stuff like that, and I genuinely feel, and to be fair, right, who has been calling it for the last few years now?
That's true.
It's what I've been saying every time. TTRPGs are really starting to come out of their shell. They're really starting to evolve beyond the market share that is D&D. And we're now going to start getting more interesting games. We're going to get people making more interesting mechanics. And now I'm hoping we're going to start seeing actual competition for who's in top based on how cool the game is rather than just who's doing it, you know? I hope Draw Steel does really, really well. Let them put pressure on Daggerheart, because Daggerheart, while it's still probably a really, really good game, I say probably only because we haven't played too extensively, is, you know, done by a lot of star power, done by a lot of just overall internet like visibility, and I would like to see a lot more of just like and then now we're going to talk about like the real TTRPGs to get people into really being interested in that kind of thing. Because I've been saying for a long time, I've never thought that learning a new game was why people actually stopped, like didn't want to play D&D or whatever. Because the thing is, right, D&D is still there. People are 90% homebrewing anyway, but now they're leaving. What happened? It's because it was never learning a new game. There was just never a game that people wanted to jump to more. That's it.
It's perfect storm. Which, okay, I need to shout this out because I looked up what Tormenta was, and because just Tormenta has more stuff on it than Old Dragon. This is a sick story, so I do want to talk about it. Just shout out to Brazil, the whole country.
Yeah, the whole country.
I found a Reddit post of somebody from Brazil breaking down what Tormenta is. So it's a similar story to kind of what Sword World was. So essentially there was a D&D magazine known as Dragão Brazil since like the 90s, and its whole thing was RPG articles, homebrew materials, like really good homebrew materials apparently. And it did really well because like there was never a push to like publish and make available D&D stuff in Brazil, because like they price it similar to American pricing, and it's just not worth it. So over time, as like they just couldn't get anything, this magazine was just like, you know what, fuck it, let's make our own setting and like make our own homebrew game that's based off of like that 3.0 advanced D&D, then to like 3.0 and 3.5. And then the big thing they also did was go super hard into the setting. As this person writes, I just love this paragraph. So if you think D&D is a bit shallow and you don't scrounge up arcane sources from 2nd edition and 3rd edition and adapt to 5e, Tormenta can be your mojo. Imagine Forbidden Realms with 3 times the content, and they fucking leave the Sword Coast sometimes.
D&D felt that one.
Yeah, they're saying it hits like that 3rd edition style, and everyone who is saying like they know what Tormenta is says the setting rules.
And you know, honestly, I want that. I want a setting that I can really dive into so bad. Anima had my favorite setting in TTRPGs. Still, to this day, it has my favorite setting in TTRPGs. It's not special, but you could tell they really cared about it and made something they really wanted to enjoy, and I just happened to enjoy the same thing. Like, it's sick. D&D has the Sword Coast, and the world just feels like they're just rewriting the same books that have been written over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you know? Oh, here comes Dritz. Oh, here's a Dritz reference, you know? It's just... And now it's Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate here, Baldur's Gate there.
Okay. The reason, well, one of the reasons it's called Tormenta, is someone was saying it's based off of, there's another name that just like it pulled from with this magazine. But the lore reason why it's called Tormenta, I'll read this other Reddit post from 3 years ago. Someone's like, isn't Tormenta Storm and Torment be Tormento? It's like, yeah, you're correct. That is because the Lovecraftian creatures that invade our world in Tormenta do so by creating massive storms in specific areas, where reality itself gets corrupted. Places struck by such storm because an area de tormenta and are ruled by a lord of the invaders. It's hard to explain this without writing a massive text about lore, but yeah, it's a storm, one that brings torment, so I guess it's fun anyways. I think it sounds like a sick concept. A reality bending Lovecraftian storm hitting a region and just fucking it, like reality wise. That's up my money. Apparently it's a bit kitchen sinky of like a game, because I mean based on D&D, but like if there's eldritch beings fucking with reality in areas, that's a justification for why you have so many different stylings of stuff. I might actually have to look into this. I've tracked out maybe a translated PDF. This sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's such an interesting time for me to be in this space of, I want to do more variety tabletop, but now there's too much variety. What do I cover next? Who do I go back to Fabula Ultima and finish up those videos? Do I cover something new? It's a good time to be a gamer, honestly.
It really is.
We're living in the best times when it comes to TTRPGs, and I'm glad. I'm glad that I've been right this whole time. I'm glad that I'm the man who called this ahead of time, even though I gave plenty of wiggle room and that I could have been wrong and still been right. But, you know.
Yeah.
But I have been saying it feels like tabletop. If this happens and this happens and this happens, we're going to be in a new era. And guess what? It happens. The things that I said will open it up. If D&D keeps fucking up, that was a big one. If D&D keeps fucking up, we're going to see a lot of new tabletop stuff. And it did keep fucking up. 2024 was probably the biggest fuck up, honestly. And now we have Daggerheart. And now we have Drawsteel. And now we have all kinds of really cool things. And you know, and I said, if content creators start talking more about these games, and guess what? They did. They're at least mostly talking about Daggerheart. Daggerheart. Not so much about Drawsteel, but I challenge any of you to go watch a Drawsteel video. The sheer mouth foamy rabidness of the content creators. I was watching a video the other day about this guy who's just like, I made my whole channel just to talk about Drawsteel. So, you know,
fair. I'll draw people in.
Like, that's cool. And Cosmere, some people were talking about it anyway. not the main people who should be talking about it, but some people were talking about it.
Yeah, it's at least doing well in the communities it is, because when I see people talk about it, it's all very positive. I think it just needs to extend out. I just think it's definitely like, I don't see like XP to level 3 talking about, oh, the Cosmere game was so good, because like I feel like he would have already talked about the Cosmere stuff if he was a fan of it. It appeals to you if you're a fan of this setting. It's always like, which is like the hurdle of this type of game. Like, if Daggerheart's doing well, that is just such a good indicator for where the tabletop like ecosystem is going to be at. And man, I'm also sad I couldn't find. There's no English PDF of Tormenta. Like, it's only in Spanish, and I can't read it.
I don't sprechen the Espanol.
I cheated in Spanish class. I didn't pay attention at all.
I know a little Spanish, but it hurts my head a lot to read extensively.
Yeah, like the style of it looks cool enough. I wasn't seeing anything that I could immediately point out as like an interesting mechanic. It's just the style of the core book, which is on the Internet Archive. It's put together well. Like, this is like a really well laid out tabletop book, from just a pure user interface perspective. Maybe it's gonna be like, you have to flip through multiple chapters just to find one thing. I don't know if it's going to be that good, but like, apparently there's some chats of getting it in English from the company. So I hope that happens, because I think the world as a whole, I think if people can spread around the games they enjoy, it's just a really good method of wider community interaction. And I think there's going to be some sleeper hits that appear if a bunch of companies start pushing to like localize all their stuff.
Yeah. Now I want to go into a point here. Let me lay out my expectations for stuff moving forward, right? What are my thoughts on these things? Because as much as I am generally interested, I do tend to speak from a very like neutral / like a standpoint of what are people generally interested. What am I interested in? So I don't anticipate Sword World to be my new favorite TTRPG. It looks interesting, but if it has a lot of the same DNA of older D&D games, I mean, I've seen a lot of the games of older D&D games, and like one of the best expressions of that is Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Yes, White Wolf Publishing is coming back. That's kind of old news now. I think we heard that last year or early this year. I can't remember.
It was this year. This year it happened. They were able to. They got unabsorbed from Paradox,
which is pretty cool. But like, Pathfinder 2e, really good game. Obviously, I'm not looking for another Pathfinder 2e game at this time, though. You know.
No.
I love it. I don't get me wrong. I love Pathfinder. It's still my favorite TTRPG as of right now. But I'm just in this period of it feels like it's missing a thing that I've been really wanting. And after we play tested the 333, I know what it is, and it's non-combat systems. I want something not combat related to sink my teeth into. I want to sink my teeth into combat too. But also, I want my character to not just be a murder hobo, you know? Like, if my character is actually good at conversation, I want that to be a different form of power. You know, something I can gamify. And that's really hard to do in Pathfinder. Despite what people say. People keep arguing with me that, oh, the victory point system and everything like that. And it's like, that's just skill checks with extra steps, my friends.
I forget that victory points are a thing in Pathfinder.
Well, it's an optional role, to be fair.
Yeah, the like it's not one of the cool optional rules, like, you know, free archetype.
Yeah. Though, though, draw steal? Draw steal might be cooking, actually. Depending on how draw steal is in general. Like I haven't been taken in by any of the hype up until this point. And honestly, I've been kind of lukewarm on the game up until this point. May this year is when they were talking about it. Oh wow. I thought it was much earlier than that. But I have a baby, so time seems stretched.
Good on them. Apparently they have a it doesn't seem like it's fully done, like worked on and fleshed out and everything, but there is an unofficial compendium for all the rules for draw steal.
Yes. I know a lot of people are talking about it. There's tons of videos going over how the game works in general as well. So
I'm just curious about how the classes and all that operate. I need to know how the combat system thing works. Like that's what I'm super interested on.
Yes, it does have an interesting thing. So one of the things is you have triumphs, I think is what it's called, or triumph points or victory points, something like that. Anyway, every time you defeat a creature or you beat a combat, you get these points. And when you rest, they're converted into XP. But until you rest, every new combat you go into, these actually funnel into your character's normal resources to allow you to do cooler things. So the more you push on in a dungeon without resting, the quicker and more high-paced the combats get.
Okay, that's kind of cooking.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's kind of cool, right? Also, many of the classes have subclasses that are very interesting, very much change up how the classes are played. It looks like they're not afraid to go the full like minion route for some of the classes, which is kind of cool. I always love a game that allows you to actually have minions and doesn't just make them a kind of a tacked on part of your kit, kind of like how Pathfinder does. I like Pathfinder and his companions, but I feel like it's a little too restricting. And again, they have a social system that it has like actual rules and actual like mechanics you can game out, which sounds really cool. So draw steal, I might be getting into this. If draw steal, so here's the thing, right? If draw steal can let me make interesting characters, at least to some degree that is similar to like in Pathfinder, and it has really good rules for like non-combat scenarios, and I can like let me build characters who can do things that are not just combat related, please games, and not how Pathfinder does it, where it's just like, oh, now you can try to persuade 5 people at once rather than just one. It's like, cool, I don't know when I'm ever going to use that. That's not a mechanic to interact with anyway. That's just a skill check with extra steps. Then draw steal might become my new favorite TTRPG. I'm gonna say it. It might, which is exciting. I will look into it.
I'm curious because I found a video that's just going through every class, and it seems like the class they're named by like a loose like I guess concept. I mean, hey, I fuck with the idea of like any roguish assassin thing, call them Shadow, and then have those subclasses kind of build from that.
Yeah.
Elementalist, Conduit, like one of them's just Fury. Like I'm curious. This game might be sick.
I might even get it today. I might even look into it today.
If you get it, let me know how the Shadow is.
Yeah,
I'm curious about that one.
I'll let you know exactly how it is. Anyway, this moocher over here.
Yeah. Hey, when I get my own tabletop games, I also allow for mooching.
Well, get on it. Chop.
I would, but World of Darkness and White Wolf has not sent me free stuff yet. I hope they do. I pump out videos for them. If they need a guy to advertise Mage 5th edition, if it actually happens ever, I'll do it.
I'll also accept Warhammer and or Trench Crusade minis.
I can easily supply those ones. You just
Um,
need a 3D printer.
I mean, fair, but if you're getting stuff,
Yeah.
Jokes aside, Daggerheart is interesting, and I will probably be covering it at some point in the future. Daggerheart does not need my attention to do well, so I would like to help benefit other TTRPG games more, but it would do me a great service to know what Daggerheart is about. And we've already played a little bit of Daggerheart, and we played during the beta a bit, and I think we did even a little bit of closed beta stuff at some point as well, or at least I did. So I already kind of roughly know how Daggerheart plays, and it does seem really, really interesting, really, really cool. It's D&D with more incentive for roleplay, which is good. I think that's fine. And I guess it's a Souls-like situation. It's not like D&D necessarily, but it has that vibe.
Ooh, yeah, oh man, the sheer difference though, when I look up Daggerheart and Drawsteel on YouTube, just the sheer
Oh,
difference
yeah.
of view count.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's not. To be fair, though, I think the view counts better represent casual / role cosplayer versus like in-depth TTRPG players. You know.
This one's at least this is a great video to just have the 17 reasons you should try Drawsteel. That one's like looks like the most viewed Drawsteel video. Like
Yeah.
37K.
Which is impressive in the TTRPG field.
100%. The only other one that gets higher is Matt Colville himself.
Yeah. So Daggerheart, we'll probably play like a short campaign for Daggerheart here on the channel. A tenner, 10 to 15er. I don't know when that's going to happen because it's going to be a while, but we will probably do it.
We got a lot of games, and I'll be honest, I if we do Drawsteel before Daggerheart, I think I'd be more down. Like
Yeah.
Daggerheart's like fine from like what we did character creation, the rules were cool that we read in the beta, but like Drawsteel sounds cooler. It sounds more up my alley.
You know what? I'm just gonna set up getting Drawsteel right now. I think I'm just gonna commit. I am in the process. For those who are interested, I am in the process of my Lightweaver video for Cosmere. So if you are looking for the next Cosmere video, it is on the horizon. Oh, I don't need this. They tried to bundle me. Matt Colville, what are you doing? Don't bundle me. Just give me what I want.
Trying to get all the extra little fun resources.
It was a starter adventure, looks like.
Oh, yeah, we don't need that.
But yeah, and that's an interesting question, right? What? Because okay, I'm enjoying the Cosmere game. Don't get me wrong, and I'm very much looking forward to progressing more on Stonewalkers. You guys are almost done with Chapter 2 already.
Oh shit.
Where can you find the unofficial web resource for Drawsteel? Where'd you find that, Alex?
Let me double check, because I just looked up Drawsteel rules or something. There was a Reddit post, someone being like, did they release a beginner thing? It's called steelcompendium.io. I will link it in the chats.
I will be looking into it, and I'll probably be making some videos on Drawsteel in the near future as well.
Yeah, but you were wondering about Cosmere, or thinking about a question on that.
Right, what I was talking about. I'm enjoying Cosmere, and I'm looking forward to it. There was kind of talk when we were starting Stonewalkers here that maybe we'd go a little bit longer with this one, or maybe we'd have this kind of be an on again, off again campaign, which we still might do. It depends. Like, if draw steal is really that good, then I wonder if we would do that. Like,
well, listen, I 100% wonder that too, because like right now, as it stands, in my top 5 tabletop game, Cosmere is in there. I don't remember what I had as my 5. They're not even in order, but like if I don't remember what the game even was that got booted, it wasn't as good as Cosmere. Like, I really like how the game plays. I really like how it works. I think it's super fun. If draw steal is just objectively better, it sucks, man. Sorry. Like, my list isn't a top 6. But like, I think telling stories in the Cosmere is something I'm always gonna like to do, because I'm super invested in the Cosmere. But like, sometimes if the game's better, you gotta play the better game, you know?
Yeah.
I would like to still do Cosmere stuff. Just, I think it'd be one of those things of like, hey guys, let's do like a game. We'll have more time. Maybe even like off stream, we just do it once we're all living in the same area. And if one of them is Cosmere on like the list of things we can come up with, that'd be a tough choice.
Yeah, and to be fair, we will at least do probably chapter 2 and 3 of Stonewalkers, and that's of 7. So, yeah. I have a strong feeling by the 10-15 mark we'll be finishing chapter 3. And who knows? Your characters are really good, and the story has been very solid up until this point. So
it's been sick.
A good time is a good time, and that's the thing, right? A TTRPG does not need to be my favorite for me to play it. So
no,
even for an extensive amount of time. But and this should be proof. We here, despite being Cosmere heads, despite being longtime Pathfinder 2e players now at this point, which is weird to think that, yeah, now like you're also just a longtime you play Pathfinder more than most of the community has at this point.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Like, yeah, I just I mean, I like Pathfinder. I think it's I do not see a time anytime soon for me to for it to be booted from my top 5. I think it'd be a very cool universe where that happens, because it sounds like we're getting banger after banger after banger release.
Yeah. I will probably say Cosmere will probably get kicked off my top 5 list before Pathfinder does.
I think same.
Which is sad.
Like, same here.
Because I wanted it to be good, and I was very excited for it.
I still think it is very good, but if another game is just doing some of the stuff better and like not using a D20, maybe that's like its actual biggest detriment, is it's a D20 system.
And to be fair, they might swap after more books are released for Cosmere.
I'd be so fine with that.
So, because I love the heroic paths, and I feel like if I had more interesting heroic paths to interact with, and even the other types of investitures, I think they'd be really good. And I kind of talked about this when I was talking with Jason as well. If they see how the winds are blowing currently, and they decide to double down and make Mistborn a bit crunchier, that would be really good, and that would be the one to do it for, because Mistborn is like really good for a crunchy system.
It is, and that's why I'm so curious when they said that it was going to be a lot more political intrigue, because like the Mistborn Era 2 books aren't that. So I'm super curious what more is going to be added, because I mean, if they add a really complicated social combat system, like a really chunky, like another form of combat now for dialogue, that was sick. I can add that to my Stormlight game now.
Yeah,
it's the same system. It's just we're not using Allomancy.
And if that did happen, I would actually probably bump it up over Pathfinder.
I think it'd be super sick if every single book for it had like a different core mechanics it was adding to the game. Because I know that campaign book is going to add actual rules for Shadesmar.
Yeah, I don't think Stonewalkers does. sadly.
No, I mean it's the next adventure path, which is
Hopefully.
Shadesmar. Like I imagine it's gonna add rules for travel in there.
Yeah, because this is a comment on one of my videos that like they tell you how to make objects in Shadesmar. I don't know what more rules you're expecting. And I'm
Living
like,
in it, because like you can't get Stormlight in Shadesmar. Traveling is inherently dangerous there. There's a lot of reasons.
yeah,
There's a whole people that live there. It's just like there's civilizations in Shadesmar.
well, it's more than that. Give me a step-by-step, okay, I want to travel, I want to else call through Shadesmar. How is that going to work? Give me the step-by-step on how that's supposed to work. Rather than, all right, you can make objects of roughly this size based on your investiture. Good luck. It's just, if you've never read the books before, you're going to be super confused. So
Like there is nothing in the current core book to super sustain you to have like an extended story beat in Shadesmar. Because like you have the bare minimum that you need if you've read the books, everything can play off of that. But I think if there's a lot stronger of rules for it, because like
the world guide has a little bit more.
That's good. It's just like there it is inherently a different realm, and like the rules are a bit different, and there's just things put in place. Like it'll give us a map, a more cognizant map of Shadesmar for Roshar, where like we'll actually get to know where the spread, like I guess civilizations are, because you have to like hire people, do business there. There's a lot of, oh god, imagine the art. That's also gonna be sick.
Yeah,
there just needs to be rules. Yeah, there needs to be like rules for it to be like a really interesting adventure.
Yeah, in fact, whenever we open up the Foundry and you get some free minutes, you can just flip through the world guide.
That's true. I need to read some of the world guide.
Because they do have some Shadesmar stuff. I'm just talking about talking about, give me a mechanical rundown of what's going to happen when I try to do this. Put that in the books, please.
I feel the same way, because I think it needs to be, for it to feel like Shadesmar, I think there needs to be some mechanical differences for how, like, I mean, getting there. I imagine they're going to keep the whole idea of like the realmic step, like your little teleport ability. I imagine that's going to stay like, yeah, you kind of just teleport because like we want you to have a game mechanic, and we can hand wave that for like a short period of like quick travel. We can hand wave that. But actually like appearing in Shadesmar and like traveling long distance, I think is a different thing to do mechanically.
Yeah.
I think it should be a different thing to do mechanically too. Just to stand out and be interesting. But like I can see it being the official rule thing for else calling. Just like, okay, the short distance, let's just hand wave exactly how you do that.
Well, that is how it's done, to be fair.
Yeah, just once it's like laid out of like more rules for it, I can see that being even more explicitly stated. Just like, all right, this one, don't worry about it. You're not gonna have to like, you're gonna do transformation. All right, now quickly go to Shadesmar. Now convince the sphere to change.
Yeah.
Like, I don't imagine you're gonna have to do that every time. That is a great scene. It's a great understanding of like what's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if I had to do that every single time I was using my power, that'd be mechanically so annoying.
But yeah, we're going a little bit over, so I'm just gonna finish up my thoughts on everything else. So Daggerheart, I will look into. Neither of us are super interested, and that's not because the game is bad. Mechanically speaking, I think it's very interesting. It's just aesthetically, the game does not give us anything that we want. And while aesthetics aren't necessarily a huge thing, the game doesn't do enough interesting things to make up the difference for the aesthetic.
I think you can tell what type of players we both lean by just the fact Draw Steel is the one that's kind of pulling us over Daggerheart. I think it's really clear.
Are we the grognards? Oh no.
Oh no. Give it like 15 years and we're going to be leaving these long-winded, annoying comments on videos.
But Daggerheart is going to leave the market open for other people to come in. And my only concern when it comes to Daggerheart as like a thing is the sheer amount of money they're going to have. They have an easy ability to flood the TTRPG market with their content, kind of like how D&D did, and that would be kind of bad. So hopefully they keep it reasonable, but I hope they keep coming out with new cool stuff, because honestly, like the playing were creatures rules they just came out with in their like stuff that they have that they're getting prepped out for like a new book is really cool, and I think it's really interesting. Cosmere is going to be a fun game, and with every new book that comes out, I think it's going to become a funner game. But I don't know if it will ever jump to my top favorite game, not unless they really hardcore like dive into some of the rules.
I love Cosmere, and like unless it does some absolute crazy shit, it's not going to be my favorite.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, my absolute favorite game, one of which is it's a mix up based on the day between Anima and Pathfinder, and a solid chunk of the Anima thing is just because of all the amazing memories I have from it.
Yeah.
Like it's something that means a lot to me. And my growth as a tabletop player and as becoming friends with now my closest friends. So it means a lot to me, more than like the pure games quality.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite TTRPG right now is Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Purely because combat and build wise, I think it's unparalleled in the TTRPG stage.
Agreed.
The world, I honestly don't care too much about.
It's solid. It's cool enough, but it's better than D&D's kitchen sink fantasy.
Yes. It's also a kitchen sink fantasy though, to be fair.
It's a better form of it.
Yeah.
Like I like how they did it, but yeah, there's nothing that like I'm not chomping at the bit to like cover more of it and like because that to read more of it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
My overall feeling on it is it's a really good workable high fantasy TTRPG setting. That's it. There's nothing in the setting that I find particularly interesting. So there's that. Even to the point where the next Pathfinder game we play, whenever we do play it again, is going to be a completely homebrewed rule by me. So, you know. But unparalleled combat ability, and it does offer a significant amount of ability of problem solving using other skills. There's lots of spells. The kineticist is really good for solving problems outside of combat. Like, its exploration is actually pretty interesting and has some pretty good rules around it. I really do like it. Its only major failing is mostly social combat stuff and like social like chunk at all. It doesn't really have.
I'd also love for feats that weren't all just combat feats for class feats.
Yeah.
That's my big critique, which is the same general thing of like, I would like some more variety. Not even like a full rehauling of like, give me chunky mechanics for like conversations or exploration. Like, not to expand it more. I just want more class feats that aren't fighting.
Yeah. And then my second and third, it can vary so far. I would say right now my second would probably be Cosmere. Probably. I really like Lancer, but Lancer's just a war game.
Which is why I fuck with it hard. Like my top 5 is like in no order: Pathfinder, Anima, Lancer, Star Wars Fantasy Flight, Cosmere. That's my 5.
Yeah. Pathfinder at the top, and then in no special order, I like Cosmere. I like Anima Beyond Fantasy because the setting is so interesting. It's such a fun game. Deadlands, I actually really like Deadlands. I think
I fuck with Deadlands too. I just never get to play it with you guys.
Yeah, we haven't played it. We should play it at some point.
You should. I want to.
And oh goodness. Maybe Lancer.
It's just a fun game.
It's just a fun game. I love Fabula Ultima, but Lancer just it hits an itch that Fabula Ultima can't scratch. So
I think if it's one of those games where like it goes so all into combat, like if you get a DM who will on their own dime, on their own full like effort, go all in on like making a super cool, interesting story, go crazy balls to the wall with it. Holy shit. It just gives you no resources to do that as a GM other than the campaign books. Like it's not built for that. It's built to do what I think is some of the most satisfying combat I've had in a tabletop game.
Yeah.
Like it is on par with Pathfinder in my head, just how like the combat mechanics kind of operate.
For
It
sure.
just feels so good.
The only reason why I would say Pathfinder is better is purely from the point of, in Lancer, you're having mech battles, or you're fighting some kind of battlements, or maybe kaijus, but that's kind of about it. In Pathfinder, you can have a lot more different scenarios. You can have a lot more types of fights, and it has deeper levels of strategy. Not necessarily deeper levels of build, but deeper levels of strategy that Lancer does not have. But
incredibly.
But I will say Lancer's combat is just as gratifying as Pathfinder's.
Just on a pure mechanical level.
Yeah.
Like, derived from its context of like both games existing and how you would play them. Like both experience, I get the same immense joy and the same itch scratched by both games.
Yeah, I agree. So that's kind of my order for things as well. There's a lot of hope. And like I said, Cosmere could jump to my top if it decides to make some more interesting mechanics and goes a little bit deeper. Literally anywhere. If its combat was just a little bit more tactile and in depth, you know, similar to Pathfinder, then I would swap to Cosmere. Like, Cosmere has a more socially interesting game, in my opinion. And I love how the surges work. I love how surges are skills in themselves that can work in different ways. It just it just put on some more weight. If it just had a little bit more chunk, Cosmere would jump up to my favorite. But until then, it's Pathfinder. And maybe maybe Drawsteel. We'll see.
Who knows?
I'll look into it today. But yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on tabletop moving forward. Is over the next few years, we're just going to see new games come out. They're going to do some really cool things. The tabletop community is kind of going to be opened up. Daggerheart, I think, is going to just become the new, like, big kid on the block. I don't think it's necessarily market share wise going to top D&D, but I feel like in the tabletop sphere of the people who play the games and talk about the games in the YouTube space, people are mostly going to be talking about Daggerheart. And I think that's just how it's going to be. Maybe Drawsteel will come up in it too. I would not be surprised if we start seeing a bigger percentage of Drawsteel videos overall. I think Pathfinder is still good. I think if you want to play either Pathfinder or Drawsteel, there's good reasons to do either or. Especially with just how much content Pathfinder has out, and now Starfinder 2e is pretty cool. And so if you get a real itch for some high sci-fi, that's going to be right there for you. And then every other kind of game is just going to kind of murmur beneath the surface, and some people will dig it up and be like, hey, there's this cool game, and they might come up and be interesting for a little bit, and then we'll kind of sink back down into obscurity until someone else digs them up or whatever. And I think that's generally fine. But if anything crazy happens, you'll hear it here first. So
yeah,
subscribe to the channel. Talk, you know, do things in the videos, comment, like them, do whatever, interact with them. Now's a really good time. If you are interested in variety tabletop, when you watch a video, comment or leave a like. Do anything to interact with those videos, because the more variety tabletop we bring out in the scene, the more different types of games we're going to get to play, and the more interesting and cool emergent mechanics are going to come out, and the better tabletop is going to be. Now's the time. D&D is dead. Now rise of the tabletops. Now everyone else gets to have a chance. It's really cool.
It's a good idea. Like, maybe I got to start watching tabletop content just to actually boost some variety, because I've seen some cool ones. There's a cool channel. Their interests are a little different from ours. I think they are a bit more rules light fan, but their channel's Quinn's Quest. Apparently, yes. I found out that they were apparently just part of the games industry.
Yep.
So like they just had the experience before starting YouTube recently. But their videos are super high quality, super cool, and they're doing very, very variety content. Especially like very obscure games you probably haven't heard of. Their recent video being that. So give them a whirl. Honestly, I strongly agree with your projection. The only thing I can see possibly fucking it up is a thing I don't even anticipate will happen. But if, like, I don't know, D&D 6e comes out and it's actually fine. I think that could halt some some progress.
It would probably have to happen next year in order for that to happen.
It would have to happen, like, if it happened like 3 years later, like from now, I don't think it'll have the same effect. But yeah, if it happened like next year, year and a half, whatever, like that shorter amount of time, then I think a lot of the momentum that we're excited for might get paused.
Yeah, even if it doesn't come out, if they start talking about a 6e and everything in it, then yeah, sure.
But I don't see that happening, really.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
To be fair, Larian's not going to work with him again, so we're probably not going to get a game as good as Baldur's Gate 3.
They just like they can't fund themselves because like they had so many projects that they shot just completely. Did you know an old game remake just happened? An old D&D game just got released on Steam, like remade.
Probably.
It's a game. It's called. Immediately opened to Frosthaven. It's not Frosthaven. Different game.
Frosthaven's the Gloomhaven expansion.
Yeah, exactly. It's it just dropped. It's called Demonstone. Forgotten Realms Demonstone. Huh. It just got a remake. Was there any advertising from Wizards of the Coast about this? Definitely not.
No, yeah. Yeah. And honestly, from the overall idea and respect that they seem to be having for the D&D property, it's not likely to happen, but I will say it is possible. Yeah, if they start talking about 6e next year, that could stop a lot of people from making some big transfers. But honestly, I think we're in the year of variety tabletop. I think we're here. It's not going to be as variety as like a Steam variety kind of way, but it's going to be more variety than we've had for the last decade.
It's just a good thing that would happen in the first place.
Yeah. So, yeah, but that's gonna be it for us. And anything you want to leave us off with, Alex, before we head out?
Yeah. If you like lore content at all for these kind of tabletop games, I make it. It's over on my channel. It's Glue Boy. I put out a video recently on Clan Ventru from Vampire the Masquerade. Go check that video out in excitement for White Wolf being a thing again. I don't know what I'll do next, but that'll come in like a week. So go there, subscribe, do the notification thing.
Yeah. As for me, I'm going to still be covering the games I've been covering so far. Maybe if Draw Steel is as cool as maybe we're hyping it up to be, you might see a video on that here soon. But I am committed to covering every Starfinder class. I am going to do at least a few more archetypes in Battlecry. Someone really wants the Munitionists out, which is very interesting. I love the idea of an inventor whose whole thing is just having a mortar. I think that's very cool.
It is pretty sick.
And there's an archetype called the Captain that is like minion based, which is very interesting. So I'm definitely going to look into that one as well. And then I will be covering at least the remaining Radiant Paths for Cosmere, though I will say I want to do the Heroic Paths because honestly, I think the Heroic Paths are more interesting than the Radiant Paths. I think the Radiant Paths are fun, and of course you're going to want to play a Radiant, but I think mechanically speaking, the Heroic Paths are actually cooler, and I make me want to make characters who are not Radiants just so I can have more talents from the Heroic Paths, because you can make some very interesting characters with those. So don't be afraid if you're enjoying any of the content. Also, I do plan on getting back into Lancer soon, and I do want to finish up covering a lot of stuff in Fabula Ultima, but I have a baby, and after this kind of hot season for tabletop dies down a bit, I'll probably be dropping back down to like one video a week. So hopefully, I'll do what I can. I am trying my best, but I'm a full-time dad, and it's hard. So there's just so much really cool stuff in the tabletop field. So if you really love tabletop, just know the future's looking pretty bright. But all right, that's gonna be it for us. Thank you all so much for watching, and I guess we'll go ahead and say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.